Jonathan Mickles with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast, and I have with me today a special guest, Mr. Yo Bronckers. How's it going, Yo?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I think I've been talking to others and saying some things sometimes on LinkedIn, and that we wanted to kind of transform the podcast a little bit, from just purely being, about multifamily investing and doing some things, technology related, because that's a little bit about my background is, I'm also a technology person and also doing some stuff in real estate. And you come from a pretty storied real estate background. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got your start in real estate?
Yeah, well, after my study at Technical University in Eindhoven in the Netherlands.
Let's also say that you're calling us from the Netherlands, so it's getting pretty late over there. So thanks so much
from the other side of the lake.
There you go, on the other side. So after school, go ahead.
After school, I did real estate investment management. That was my study at the university. So I started with some asset management organizations in the Netherlands. And I worked there for 15 years doing real estate, often residential investing. But also I started to work for a branch organization that is representing the entire sector towards government and towards universities and other branch organizations. After a couple of years, I made the move from the real estate investment sector to the real estate finance sector. So I started to work for real estate banks.
Before we go there, let's go back to real estate investing. What were you investing in real estate in the Netherlands? What residential type things were you doing? Were you doing fix and flips or what?
No, when I started was on behalf of the largest pension fund, ABP. Those days they had the ABP residential fund. In those days, the residential fund started to become an indirect investor. So investing in residentials in the Netherlands. They were the largest real estate investor in residential real estate. So I think they had a portfolio in the Netherlands of 35,000 those days homes across the entire country. And mostly it was in the upper class, the middle and the upper class of the rental sector. So you have in the Netherlands, if you look to the housing stock, on roughly half of the houses are rental houses, other half are owned houses. From those rental houses, I think 2/3 are more the social residential sector. So it's for the lower rental prices. And then the other 1/3 is middle and higher class. And mostly the social housing class is dominated by social housing companies. And they have some regulation that actually they top the rental price. And then the commercial rental residential investment sector, that's the middle and the top, and they have more freedom to ask whatever they like and what the market allows.
And so your responsibility was to go out and find those upper tier type investments and to figure out whether or not those residential houses were a good fit for the portfolio, or?
Yeah, well, my personal task was, and that was quite interesting. We were investing in the top class rental house, but how can we add additional services to housing rental, and how can you make that affordable? And that's really coming close to hotel services, bringing it to residential rental services. And it was because they were establishing this new brand. They wanted to see how can we add more services so that we can position ourselves high in the market. But how can we do this such a way that it boosts the return, the yield of the investment?
So it's kind of like almost like a hotel concierge service, but for like housing rentals. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you pivoted from there, and you said you started getting into some things with the government, I think, at the time?
It was real estate banking, finance. So the middle, there was the branch organization of those investors, but then I moved to a real estate bank, and actually a subsidiary of the Dutch Rabobank, the largest bank in the Netherlands. And Rabobank, they wanted to become an all service finance. They didn't have a top 3 position in real estate finance. So they wanted to heavily invest in building up that sector under their brand. And then I was hired to become a research manager of a new to establish a research department. And it was actually the coolest job I ever had. We're talking about 2000, 2003, so quite a time ago.
Wow. What were you researching specifically? What types of research were you undertaking?
Well, we wanted to invest commercial real estate in the Netherlands, but the way how we did it, we sold the loans via the front offices of the Rabobank. The Rabobank in the Netherlands, they had 140, 150 different branches. So each local branch had their own network with clients, but they also had internally their appraisers. So the moment that you have a request for a loan, the appraiser goes and looks to the local market. Well, those were the two main clients for me. How can we give people who sell loans at the front office, how can we give them information about their local markets? What are the latest market developments? And the same for the appraisers. If they have to do a valuation of a property, how can we give them the latest information about the market? And again, we're talking about 20, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So how can we collect via internet, via different ways? How can we collect all kinds of information? Because
so let me ask this question in terms of, here we have the multiple listing service, right? And it's pretty much, broken up regionally where, say, an appraiser can go and get that information, or even, I'm not sure if bankers necessarily use that information, but definitely appraisers do. Do you all have that same thing in the Netherlands, like a multiple listing service? Okay. So you do have that.
But 23 years ago, so it was not the way how it is, not that sophisticated as we have it today, but there were listing platforms. And what we wanted to do is scrape information, but that was also new, and actually collect information, but also from newspapers, and then create a data warehouse. I was challenged not to develop a digital research center that is fitting for the need in 1 year, but they challenged me to look 5 years ahead.
Okay.
But there was no limit on the budget, so I was actually able to make a plan to really make something cool, something new.
Wow. So you were cutting edge, always bleeding edge with technology.
That was for me the first time that I really looked into how can we use technology to create something that we have never done before, but that can facilitate the processes that we have internally. And I liked it a lot. But after a year, there's also a sad side of the story. I started to make my plan, and we wanted to do the first investment, but then the Rabobank, they were able to purchase the number 3 bank in the Netherlands on real estate finance. And we had a merger, and our small department, which grew very fast, and the sky was the limit. It was really a cool time. But we merged into this number 3, and actually they already had a research department, but that was meters of shelves with books, with reports, and the paper research department. And they said, well, what you are developing, very interesting, but we have other priorities first. First, we need to merge different organizations. So I got another job, but still I worked for the banks until we had the large financial crisis. I think it was around 2012.
Okay, so yours was 2012. We went into financial crisis 2007, 2008. Was a lot of times people say 2008 here, but it hit you all in 2012, or was it also in?
No. It hit before. You're right. You're completely right.
Okay.
But the reason why I mention it is I was working again for this bank, and all the banks, they needed to show stress test reports to the authorities, and in the stress test reports there was always one scenario. That was what happens with the solvency of the bank if the mortgage market goes bad. All the banks have said, well, no problem. So we had the event. I think it was also 2008. But afterwards, the authorities came back to the banks, and therefore I think they asked, hey, you showed us those stress test reports that you could actually survive this, but almost all the banks got huge problems.
Right.
So now we do not trust your stress test reports anymore. We are going to change it. We would like to have you sending us all the data about your transactions on a granular level. And by the way, not only the good data, we should be sure that you send us all the data. It's up to you to organize yourselves.
Well, let me ask this question. Were you all doing derivatives? Were you also originating, we called them ninja loans, where you could pay, you would allow negative amortization to happen on properties. Did you all have such financial, instruments then?
Actually, at the real estate finance department, we were not into that, but Rabobank, they had also the trading agency, so they were all, it's like all the large commercial banks, they all have their departments, and everybody, we also had our exposure.
So everybody drank the Kool-Aid, if you will. Okay, so you were challenged. We had the 2008 crisis. It wasn't just in the United States. It was a worldwide crisis. You all got impacted. But your federal or your governmental agency came back and said, we want to look at all of your data and even the granular data. So you were involved in having to provide that to the government?
So all the departments of this large Rabobank, they were called together, and they wanted to start a large data project within the international Rabobank group. And I were asked to participate from the real estate finance department, and there were also people from the innovation department. So the question, how are we going to aggregate all this data and then deliver it, was the proof that it's all the data, not only the good ones. Then the innovation department stood up and they said, well, maybe blockchain technology might be interesting.
Oh, this was in 2012. Okay.
Yeah, around that day. Don't maybe it was 12 or 14, somewhere in that range. It's long ago.
Right. But that's a very good word. I mean, blockchain, let's see, when did Bitcoin, the Satoshi, it was what, 2009, 2010? When that started happening?
It will be 12, maybe it was 14. I don't know exactly the years, but
gotcha.
Around somewhere there. So I had never heard before about it. I did some data projects, but not. I was more, how can we organize data to facilitate your processes? That's the thing I was doing. So they started to talk about it, and I heard it. I think, wow, it sounds really interesting, and I was really fascinated about it. But also difficult for me with my real estate background to understand what exactly they meant with this technology. But I thought, let's try to figure it out. So I went to the internet, tried to search something. It took me 3 months because there was hardly anything really good explanation to find. And if you found something, one side told you this, the other one told you something different. And it was really difficult to sort out for yourself what exactly was. But I managed to get it. My definition was blockchain technology on the moment that you want to exchange digital information with more than two people who have different interests, opposite interests. Then with blockchain technology, you can add a very thin layer of trust to the data. And this very thin layer of trust can be very valuable. And especially when you look in the real estate industry, I thought, well, if you look to the real estate industry, it is a fragmented industry. It's about large investments. You have long horizons for investment. So it's managing many risks. And how to manage risks means you have to bring a lot of information together. I understood that because I already did this research warehouse, the data warehouse. How do we look to risks? What data are available? How can you organize that? And I also knew from the later jobs at the bank that the quality of information, that there was a lot lacking on the quality that we really need to make such a technology work. But nevertheless, I also saw that the industry, the entire industry vertical, was very fragmented. That we were relying on many advisors for very high wages. And what they actually do, they check information, put a stamp or a signature below, and then the other party that they trusted. So it was in nature for me the perfect story for applying blockchain technology with one reserve. The quality of the information is not there. And maybe another one, which I learned later, that a real estate transaction process for large real estate buildings, it's not a uniform process. Always there's something specific. So it is not that automatable as you might think. But nevertheless, I thought, well, if this technology, if this data quality is improving, it might become interesting. And then I saw actually two mega trends. It's one mega trend of digitalization of the entire society. I thought, well, this is only going to be more. And the other mega trend is the attention for sustainability. There was all over the world, people started to speak about sustainability. The real estate sector was not the most advanced sector when it comes to care for the planet and for the impact that we have. But I thought, and especially in Europe, this attention grew quite fast. And I thought it will only become more in the future. And if we need to prove the sustainability performance of buildings, we are not going to organize all these data on a paper like we did in the past with the concrete and with the mortar.
Right.
So this is going to be digital. And if we in the same time digitalize other processes in real estate, we will only have more data. We have only better quality, more reliable data. So at a certain moment, I think the technology can move in slowly.
Well, let me pause there for a question. A couple of quick questions. So you mentioned that, you know, one of the big issues in putting together a data warehouse in the previous structure is that you could use existing technology to put all of this data that the government wanted from you into a data warehouse technology. But the problem was it needed to be signed off on by some people at the top, right? And oftentimes they really didn't look at the data, so the quality of the data wasn't necessarily there. How do you ensure that the quality of data is good at the thin, smaller layer now that you're looking at with applying blockchain?
I understood that first the quality of data was needed, and real estate industry is very patient and moves very slowly. So I think in those days this was not the quality that you needed. So I think the real impact blockchain technology can have on processes was not really big those days. And I think still we have not moved a lot ahead. I think now we're 10 years further, 15 years further.
Yeah. So,
but still, this is one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what blockchain is. In your, you know, there's a lot of people who explain it in a lot of different ways, but from your vantage point, you know, what is blockchain and how is it different from the current technologies that we're using that kind of get the job done already, or so we think it does? So go ahead and give us an explanation if you got it.
Yeah. I think, like I said, technology that because via a system, which I'm not going to explain, it's with the blocks and the chains and everything. Actually, what you can create is digital fingerprints in such a way that people can rely on them. But this is a system. If you apply this to exchange of information, actually you can hash, you can create a digital fingerprint about the authenticity of the information. And you certify, in fact, that this information on this moment is there. When you change a comma or a point or a space in that information, then the hash will look completely different. And because this blockchain system helps you to make unique hashes. And
so because it's I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Because you have those digital fingerprints, actually, if I change a comma or space or whatever in this, now I can send the document, for example, to you, and I can send the hash also to you, and then you can verify, was this the same document as I sent to the bank or to the notary? Because if I continuously share that digital fingerprint together with the document, you can check it for yourselves.
Got it. Well, so then in terms of what you finally gave to the government, I guess 10 or 15 years ago, what was that you delivered to them so that they could receive all of that data, that granular data that they wanted? What type of solution was that?
Yeah, well, we talked about it, but we did not apply the technology. The very big challenge for the Rabobank was we first had to consolidate everything into one balance sheet. And the reason why I left Rabobank in 2018, I left Rabobank was that they want in order to deliver everything, they needed to consolidate everything. And this was again a merger that we had, and my small bank where I was working for, they went into the large wholesale bank.
Yeah.
So from
M&A.
being a 100% specialized real estate bank, I became part of a very large general bank. And I thought, well, maybe this is the moment for me to leave the bank, because I got into all this technology. And I was really fascinated about this blockchain technology. I would like to know more. And I thought those two mega trends, I think if I step out now, then maybe it's halfway in my career. Let's be ahead of the wave, see if the wave of this new technology and the sustainability, if that can actually give me the wind in my sails, and that I can benefit from it. So I thought I'm going to be a consultant. And then we're talking about 2018. That is a year that I know for sure. I left Rabobank and I wanted to start on my own as a consultant, but I didn't do any consultancy job, because I came in touch with all those other fellow founders of FIBREE.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what FIBREE is. What is FIBREE?
FIBREE, the Foundation for International Blockchain and Real Estate Expertise. So I got in touch with blockchain technology. I wanted to learn more. I started to see other events about blockchain. When I attended such events, they were talking about all industries except real estate. So I went to real estate Proptech events. I think let's hear what they are talking about. They were talking about all new technologies except blockchain. So there was a niche, was a gap in between both industries. They were not talking about each other, but I would like to explore what is possible. And then I found some other people in European countries who also were doing something, or already building their first products, or wanted to know more. And we said, why not set up a network organization that we connect everybody in the world who is interested in learning more and share expertise and visions and show best practices. Why not connect with everybody in the world who is doing that, and just learn together how this can be applied. And that's actually how FIBREE started, with 8 people from 7 countries, with the idea of connecting with the entire world. We are a non-profit organization. We're not anymore with 8 people in 7 countries. I think we have now 70 or 80 regional chairs in practically any part of the world, any corner in the world. There might be somebody who is running their own local FIBREE network. And if you look in our network, depending on the network of these individual peoples, we have people with a real estate background or with an IT background, often also people with legal background. There's a lot of legal interest. People from governments we see, and also people with research, scientific researchers from universities, or applied researchers, or corporate researchers. That's what we find in our network. And I think in a couple of years' time, 5.5, we managed to connect maybe 10 to 20,000 people in the world that are interested in this industry. And I think we are the leading platform.
That is amazing. I know that there are some blockchain things that are out there. So FIBREE fits a niche in the Proptech community. Proptech stands for property technology, right? Which is applied oftentimes to, commercial buildings and things of that sort, whether that's, airflow sensors, or, doors that, you can get in with key fobs, all the way to some of the more, fancier type things that I can't call right now. But a lot of them.
We're a non-profit member organization, so we have worldwide presence. And currently we see more and more of those startups who had an idea for the product a couple of years ago, but they managed to bring it to the market, and now they're having their first clients, making some turnovers. And we see this growing number of corporate members within FIBREE, and therefore we said, if we become a member organization, we can listen to them. What are they looking for? If they are developing a new product for a new market, let them focus on developing this product. And if they can unite with others in the network that we have, maybe we can focus on developing this market. And then it makes also for them value to become a member. And that's what we're trying to establish at this moment.
Got it. And so now, let's see, this past September, FIBREE joined forces with the Global Blockchain Real Estate Summit with Michael Flight. and talk a little bit more about that, the summit, and what FIBREE's role was there.
Yeah, it was a great event, and I think also the first 3-day event we had ever somewhere in the world, only dedicated to blockchain and real estate. So it was fantastic what we did, and we have in our network from all over the world, I think, the leading experts and the companies who are doing it. So I think quite content provided to an event like this Global Blockchain Real Estate Summit, it was a unique combination. Michael had the event, we had in our network the people with the content. How can we bring the top-notch content and spread it all over the world? Well, this is the collaboration that we put together. And we had, I don't know how many, every day we had a couple of hours with different panels, and that 3 days long. So there's many different topics, viewing to real estate tokenization, to digital building logbooks, to sometimes we had a keynote from a university researcher. I think we brought a lot together, and also the audience from all over the world.
So then,
really interesting to see.
Yeah, and that's how I got involved, I guess, with FIBREE a little bit more. I had been a kind of like a sideline member for a couple of years back, and I decided to just jump in and do a lot more with the organization through helping with some social media work there initially, and then also just offering suggestions. And I think I got to host a panel. I wasn't expecting to. We couldn't get one of the panelists hosts in the Zoom at the time, and I was just so happy to be in that.
That's what we appreciate a lot. People like you, you just see the opportunity, you jump in and you help, and now you had some time, and then maybe you don't have that time anymore. Maybe somebody else steps up. We are a very decentralized organization. The nice thing is that because we are organized the way we are organized, it's very easy to get in touch with all those other people. And everybody appreciates that you help supporting this network. We are a network of volunteers mostly. So everybody is very much willing to collaborate with you. And I think you managed in a few weeks to establish some really warm, good contacts with people you never had met before.
Absolutely. So there's some people in Brazil, of course, you all in Europe and the Netherlands. There are definitely some people that I need to get out and visit soon. I know that there is another researcher that's done some things, is putting out a new book in March, and hopefully I can get some connections with him. I think he'd be great for this podcast as well. But with respect to FIBREE and having this international focus on technology and the trends that you mentioned with sustainability and the digitization of our communities, it's just only going to get bigger. I think right now FIBREE has a connection with the United Nations now around. You're right. Talk to us about that.
We're a network, a very decentralized network with regional chairs. And all over the world, we have some nodes. So also here, we had one of the regional chairs. She was already having a certain role at the United Nations, but she saw what we were doing. And she saw how, with our industry reports, how we really give high quality information about what was happening and try to unlock this new market and support people discover how it works. You thought, well, if we look to many objectives that we have in United Nations, has also to do with how can we help the world to become more digital, and how can we help everybody in the world to be part of this digitalization wave. So she asked if it might be interesting for us to consider becoming an advisor, a consultant to the United Nations ECOSOC Council. And we said, well, let's go for it. And she managed to get us listed. And now we are really proud that we can say we're one of the 4,000 NGOs in the world who can say they are a special consultative service to United Nations ECOSOC. which is the Economic and Social Council. They are, for example, running those SDGs, the Social Development Goals, but they're also into cybercrime topics or in women's rights. They're really monitoring many of those topics. And at FIBREE, it was new. So last year we got appointed. This year is to make acquaintance with the organization, try to become visible with topics that are for us important. And what we are thinking, we would like to develop SDG tool for real estate projects. We saw that for the SDGs, a lot of data are missing. They're halfway the program until 2030, but they are in lack of a lot of information. Well, can we, as FIBREE, help to create credible information from the source, from the floor, from real estate projects? How do they contribute to the various SDGs? And how can we create a tool so that we can master that small domain in the entire SDG spectrum? Another thing we would like to do this global ABC, Global Alliance of Builders and Constructions, a global organization that wants to move the real estate sector towards more sustainability. So again, the two megatrends coming together. We applied now to become a member of that, and I hope that in March, I think they gather again. Then there's the decision whether or not we will become, but it would be strange if we can't become.
So I want to. Oh, number 3, go ahead.
We have 3 topics. Number 3 is more inclusion. And then we have 2 spear points. Number 1 is gender equality. It sounds strange, but real estate, normal industry real estate, you see half of the people are women, half of the people are men. That is okay. But if we dive a little bit deeper into real estate and blockchain, it's a very male-dominated sector. Why not have this also more equal, like we see in the entire real estate industry? Why can't we attract more women also to get involved in developing products? And the other one, when it comes to inclusion, is we think that everybody in the world should have access to a digital wallet. If you can have a digital wallet, you can control your own tokens, your own, do something with crypto. So then also the solutions that we can create with blockchain can become more valuable for people. But everybody in the world should also be taught and educated and have the possession of having access to that. Just like you have a mobile phone or a bank account, that should be also something everybody should simply be able to participate in.
That's good. Now, there is one company I wanted to bring it home for some people to understand exactly how you how right now blockchain is being applied to real estate in a context where it's not all about crypto and owning fractional ownership of real world assets, as they call it. I believe you're connected with an organization called Recheck, right? Recheck.io. Tell us what Recheck is and what problem Recheck is actually solutioning right now.
Yeah, and then actually it's again going a little bit back in the previous story. When you want to collect, no, it's the banks. When I was collecting information for the banks, I understood that if you want, maybe even one further to the investors, if you go 30 years back in time, if you were an investor, you had a steel cupboard in the back of your office. All the relevant documents about your investment properties, you could find it in the cupboard, in the back of your office. If you needed to know something, you went to that cupboard. All the information was perfectly filed somewhere in the cupboard. You could find it, you could do your thing. The information was there at the grab with your hand. Then we started to digitize everything. So we started to use software platforms, and we made a lot of information digital, and it went into all kinds of applications, silos, not proprietary solutions. So the information got more scattered. Then we got more and more information. So information got even more scattered. And if you go now to asset management organizations, they really complain that on the moment that they need to have back this information that they had in those steel cupboards, that it's quite difficult to find it from all those different sources and combine it again. Then also those data platforms, they also merged, became bigger, and now they treat information as if it is their information, but it was actually the information from the asset management organization. So it's also difficult about that. How is the ownership of data? So we thought with Recheck why not go 30 years back in time where we had those steel cupboards and create a steel cupboard again, but now as a digital repository? And how can we do that? That's where blockchain can have an important role, because if we know information that it can be certified, then you can put it in a digital building wallet. That's what we call it. Like you have a car maintenance book. Why not create also a building maintenance book, the digital building logbook? And if we can bring certified information in that digital building logbook, if we can aggregate it from the different sources, then the owner of the building, he can again be in charge of all this information. And on the moment that he has all this information back at his hand, like we had 30 years ago in the steel cupboard, on the moment that you want to sell your building, on the moment you have to do some important maintenance, all the information is there. And you can trust the information. Your building becomes a lot more transparent as it is nowadays. And we think real estate investment is about managing risks and look very far ahead in the future. If you have some certified information in your repository that somebody who's going to assess those risks can rely on, compared with, again, a second-hand car, if you have this maintenance book that is very well administered, every mileage, every maintenance precise documented, or that it's very difficult to find out what is the history, I think you see more risks with one who has difficult administration than the one who has a precise administration.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly where we see the value on the moment that we manage to get information very well sorted in a certified way in such a repository, in a digital building logbook. That I think it not only creates more transparency, gives it better value for the building, but also for organizing maintenance. If you have historic information about maintenance, about the performance of a building, it's easier to find malfunctions. You can better locate where malfunctions take place. So the engineers who have to do the maintenance, they can, with lower resources, find the solution and repair it. There's a lot of benefits.
Yeah, and so in that sort of situation, as you said, it becomes more valuable. The building becomes more valuable because you're able to see when, certain maintenance was done, when, how the electricity bill was, the, other utility bills, it is just what was also that's in that physical file cabinet. You no longer have to lug that around and give that to the new owner and say, go look through it. That information is digitized in a certain way such that you own it, and it's transparent, it's immutable, so it can't necessarily be changed unless there is a new digital fingerprint that's been created, as Yo had mentioned.
If you to multi-family investing, you have many tenants. They all have their rental price, but actually you want to somehow keep that private, because it's information that you do not want to share with everybody. It's also of interest from the tenants. But blockchain technology here is really interesting, because if you can aggregate the rental income, not show it on the individual level, but aggregate it to a higher level, then you can say with trust from the source that this is the amount that every month is being paid. You can also give the proof that it really is paid, or that there's some some vacancies, some laggings behind. But if you structure this information flow in a perfect way, then you can, on the property level, with 100% sureness, disclose what is the rental income this month, last month, the one before. And this can be done in a way that was not possible before.
Yeah, and so that's really important, as running a T12 is really important for a lot of multifamily or apartment investing. And I've noticed that some people during their due diligence period, when a property is transitioning from hand to hand, either the data is not complete or the data is not accurate. Sometimes things get fudged a little bit, but if you have it in such a way that you have a ledger of all of those expenses, all of those things, and it's immutable, it doesn't change. And if it does change, there's something that goes off that says something has changed here, this isn't the right numbers. And you can really trade in confidence. Go ahead, what are you saying, Yo?
Yeah, and in the beginning it might feel very weird that the information is presented, that you can trust it. But I think that's the new of the technology. That's what people need to become more comfortable and known with. But on the moment that you know, hey, it works and it can completely be trusted, it's more trustworthy than information that somebody puts in that you're not sure if this has been tampered with. Well, on the moment that you see that it works and that it always is truth, I think then the level of trust grows. And I think then people, they are convinced, hey, this is really something, automation trust in the digital way is really becoming valuable because you reduce the processing time and really with significant numbers.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, for coming on and giving us this information. I do want to ask a couple of last questions. I'm just happy that Red Boot is a member of FIBREE, and we're hoping to do we're hoping to do some more work with you all in the future, definitely. But how can people get in contact with FIBREE or engage? Given that you mentioned there's 70 some people around the world, but is there one particular place that they can go and get more information about blockchain real estate, what you're doing with Recheck, all those other kinds of things?
Yeah, the easiest way is just go to our website, fibree.org. There you can find all information about us. You can also find information if you would like to consider becoming a member, how to do that. Oh, that's my mother-in-law. But you can go to the website, go check it out, and I think that's the easiest way. And otherwise, you can also find us on LinkedIn, but it's also possible to contact us via that way. But I would recommend just go to internet to the website.
Gotcha. So one last thing that we like to do, in the future is we give people what we call the boot, right? Giving them the spur on to the next positive thing that they need to do. And, given that, blockchain is still, scary for some, people still don't know what it is, et cetera. But FIBREE is doing some major trailblazing in that area. Give us the boot, if you will, as to what piece of information or advice would you give us moving forward?
I think there are 690 products in the world who do something with blockchain and real estate. So everybody who's listening, I'm sure you will find something close to where you live. I would say just take half an hour time and go to the FIBREE industry report. You also find it via our website. Take in the industry report in the back, take the list of the companies that you find and go and sit half an hour, try to understand what this company is doing. And if you do this to 2 or 3 companies, and then think for yourself, do I now understand what blockchain makes different to traditional real estate investing or real estate property management? And I think that if you just spend half an hour, look to the different products, how they approached it, I think you can learn so much that now we're only talking about it. I would like people not to continue talking about it, because if they talk about cryptocurrencies, and cryptocurrency is really interesting, but it's not what is happening when you talk about blockchain or real estate. If you go and see what 3 companies are doing in our network, I think a lot of eyes will be opened to understand that there's a lot more with blockchain possible within the real estate sector. And I think this basic learning is what we need to get it more acquainted, better understood. And I hope that you then decide to connect with us and maybe join the network.
Absolutely. Well, listen, again, thank you so much, Yo, for taking time out from across the lake, if you will. And, again, if anybody is interested in learning more, please go to FIBREE, FIBREE.org, and, just connect with some people, download the industry report. Yep, you got it. Go ahead, Yo.
FIBREE.org, everybody can see it.
There it is, FIBREE.org.
Off my finger.
Please make sure you get over there and sign up. And again, thanks, Yo. And if there's anything else that I can do to help support you in the future, please feel free to let me know. Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Jonathan, I really liked it, and let's continue working together.
Absolutely.